the discovery of psychedelics is the discovery that all of this cultural machinery is just Wizard of Oz stuff.
Don't think. Feel. It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
That's it. How did it feel to you?
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
The prophecy is true.
Welcome to the Astral Mind Podcast.
What's up, guys? It's Melkez. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Astral Mind Podcast. This is episode 4, I believe, in the set. So I just wanted to lay down a few different things. I'm not going to be doing them live anymore simply because I want everyone to get in on it at the same time. I don't want people to be here and then others to miss it because of a particular time. So that's that whole situation. Uploads are going to be a little different on the channel, but I do appreciate you guys for the support. We just crossed 500 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for that. That was fun. And one other thing, everything on this channel is Patreon supported. So if you guys enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy the videos that I upload and you support my work, please consider becoming a Patreon. I'll have that in the description section below. And with any questions or comments you guys have, you can leave those in the comments once the video is uploaded. So without further ado, I want to invite my guest / co-host on the channel, which is my wife, Taylor Melkez.
Hi, everybody.
She is a spiritual woman of many different kinds and techniques, but she's also worldly. I notice a lot that my issue is that I am just too spiritual all the time, and I don't talk about the other things involved with normal life on this planet. And she is the grounding, naturalistic element that I desperately need. And she's just got an interesting perspective on things. So this is going to be the channel going forward. I'm still going to be uploading the typical videos, but as far as the podcast goes, unless there's a special guest, it'll just be Taylor and I. So we're going to get into it. So if you wanted to start by just telling people, what you're about, what you do, who you are.
Okay. Well, guys, it's nice to finally have a face reveal and to meet all of you. And yeah, he's right. When you're an air sign, he's actually an Aquarius. I'm a Virgo. So every air sign needs an earth sign to keep them grounded. So it just works really well for us. I am really new to the spiritual scene. I tried to pick some stuff up in 2017. Cal and I have been together since 2015. So of course he's been teaching me a lot through then until now. And I'm sure for the rest of our lives. And I picked up some herbs. I picked up some crystals. I was doing a little tarot, but it never really stuck. It was never something that I could kind of like hold on to until about now, because I was stuck in this mindset that like there was only one right way for everything. And of course, the way that I learned, we were both Christian growing up. That's how we met, actually. So that was just kind of like where my background went. So I finally gotten to the point now where I feel like everything is starting to overwhelmingly make sense. So I can't really deny so many things anymore. So all the methods that I've learned, these like techniques, I've met my spirit guides, I've met my higher self. This is all stuff that I had to gradually get to in order to finally be able to trust my own experiences.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And it's been a common theme on the channel lately with the people that I've had on before. I had Truth Seeker on last week. I've had Conscious on, and there's this like constant theme of having to break away from a traditional religious upbringing. I've said before that this is a Christian nation, basically, just like you'd have like the nations of different Muslim beliefs and things like that. So it's easy to see how people can get into this place where they need to kind of break away from a more rigid, unyielding belief system that doesn't allow for other spiritualities, other methods and techniques for reaching God. Because at the end of the day, I feel like a religion is just it should be tried and true techniques to reaching God or to experiencing God in some way, shape, or form. So, but what are some of those things that you've been practicing? I know you were telling me before about your experience with your higher self, and people have asked me on the channel before to make a video about my higher self and meeting my higher self, but I haven't. So I can't really do that. So the next best thing, I'll just have my wife talk about it.
Yeah, there you go.
So what was that experience like for you? Like, what was the technique that you did? What are the parts that you want to tell about it and different things like that?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's any speculation around this. I mean, it's not scary in any way. Your higher self isn't like, like a crazy like angel or God looking thing. It really just kind of looks like you, maybe a bit older. And the funny thing too is that you eventually grow into be your higher self. So it's almost like, when you're 16, your higher self is probably like 25. And eventually once you get to 25, then you basically learned everything that higher self knew. So now it's like, now that I'm 25, I'll be going on to like my higher self in like my 40s or something. So she's basically teaching me things that I need to know to get to that, place that she wants me to be at, or to get to my best life. So just meeting her, it's that love. It was just, she was that like that parent I needed for my child self. So that was a lot of stuff that I had to work through with her. I kind of went through some stuff like with my parents that I had to heal from, other things from different relationships that I had to heal from. And she was just that nurturing parent that kind of held my hand and like gave me the answers when I didn't know something, when I was really struggling with something. She was that comforting like mother energy that I really needed.
That's a cool way to put it. I actually haven't heard it put that way. I haven't heard a lot of things concerning the higher self. So I feel like that's just a topic people don't talk about very frequently, not in the essence of actually having a conversation and encountering it. But to say that your higher self is like a future version of yourself is a really interesting take on it. I haven't experienced it as much in that way. Not that I think that's wrong by any means. I just think that it's a new perspective. It's like a different side of the diamond that you can hold to the light and see something different.
Sure.
Explaining the same thing. This whole spiritual thing is multifaceted. So I've been thinking about that with what you said. So what was your first experience like with your higher self?
It was kind of cool actually. I'm kind of a gross person.
Gross
So
person?
I'm you can attest to that. I'm kind of a gross person. And I think the first place that I met my higher self was actually in like a sewer. If you could believe that. So
know.
it, like I said, it wasn't scary. It was kind of like, it was flashes. I think at first when we're all trying to get the hang of like imagining something or like getting into a vision, you get flashes because, you have to kind of go into your imagination to get to them. You have to go within yourself to get to them. So there's like this place in your mind that's locked up, and you usually get to it through meditation. So as I'm meeting her, I'm getting flashes of her face. I'm getting flashes of her silhouette. I'm getting flashes of the room. And I guess I'm not alarmed that we're in a sewer. I'm not alarmed that there's like rushing water. I mean, it doesn't stink. It's actually kind of a nicer sewer. Like it doesn't look dirty. It just is obviously like kind of an underground place, that has like a few, openings. I wouldn't say doors. They're like doorways into different places. So that could be, just different higher selves that I'll get to. Eventually I'll travel over to like that next place to meet them. But she was very loving. She was very patient with me. Of course, I approached her in kind of a a panicked sense, just because I'm kind of a panicky person. So of course, if I'm like, messing with something in my head, or I'm trying to figure something out and it's just not coming to me, I'm going to go to her and I'm like frustrated and irritated and like demanding she give me the answer. And she's just patient. And she's like, you just have to think about it a little harder. Um, and she like gives it to me willingly, doesn't really withhold information from me. Unless it's like something that she's like, yeah, you're going to figure that out in a couple of days anyway, type thing. But yeah, she's great.
Hmm.
She's super nice. She's everything that I want to be. So I try to model myself after her, and I think it's great to have that role model that isn't another person, because I think we get too caught up in like trying to be other people. We need to come
Mm.
back and focus more inward and try to be the best person that we can be.
I definitely feel that about trying to be other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like my Christian walk was me trying to be my mentor. And
Mm.
okay, let me tell you guys about this situation with my mentor. Like
Oh
I
man.
wasn't going to do it,
Oh wow.
but I'll do it briefly because I mean I respect him, but at the same time I feel like it would help people to know what type of situations you could find yourself in,
Sure.
trying to get free of a religious institution that you've been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So like my mentor, I mean, there's the video on my channel, so you guys know about my mentor. You know, like, how he helped me, how he was like my religious anchor for a little while in Christianity. But I recently wanted him to come onto the podcast, right? And I don't want to make this entirely about that, but I feel like everyone has these situations where they expect someone to be a certain way or to be more accepting, and they turn out not to be. Now, with my mentor, I had not told him about this sort of channel that I had before because he is strictly like Christian. He's like Christian, no extensions, no nothing, no edges, nothing. Like he doesn't make any exceptions. And he's very close-minded in that regard. And so obviously when I start practicing these other techniques that he's not agreeing with, he doesn't want to be on the channel anymore. So I was gonna have him on the channel. You can blame him for that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the plan. I expected to have him on the channel, but I feel like in that is an archetypal reference of the universe. Like you're gonna come up to a point where you find someone that anchors you in life, like my mentor. They're gonna teach you things, but at a certain point you have to outgrow them, because that's the cycle. That's the process of evolution. Like you have to become better than the model before. So I mean, I don't want to go into extreme detail, but we disagreed about the nature of God and the only way to get to God being Jesus. And I thought, well, I don't think that's the only way to do it, nor do I think I'm going against God by thinking that. And so we just decided to disagree, and so that situation came about. But I feel like it's like that. Like, you can't try to be people. For a long time I was trying to be like him, to have his stories and his experiences, and that's sort of what inspired the channel, was that I love telling stories and I love sharing experiences and stuff. And I got that from him. But you have to be your own person, and the fact that your higher self is technically you controlling your younger self through like an avatar-esque connection that transcends our own understanding of how consciousness is evolved, if it can be said to have evolved. But it's better that it's you, and you're growing into yourself, as opposed to trying to become someone else, in the process losing your individuality.
Exactly. Because I mean, at the end of the day, all that does is feed your ego anyway. Because that it puts you in a place where you're like, well, I have to have these things and I have to be this person, and I'm seeing that I'm kind of not really up to par in this sort of area when it comes to this person, and it's really frustrating, and now I'm upset with this person and I don't want to talk to them anymore. Or maybe it's like I'm so angry at this person that I want to hurt them because they're better than me at this particular thing that I want. And it's like, not to say that you shouldn't have a mentor, that you shouldn't have somebody that you can go to kind of give you advice, because there is always going to be somebody out there who probably knows more than you. But just to have that inner self as well, who can kind of remind you of who you are, because they know who you are and they've been through this, they've done this life already. So it's, I don't know, it's really cool because, like, just for an example, um, I've had a lot of issues with my dad. You know, growing up, he wasn't around a lot, and so you know, I was striving and striving and striving to be the daughter that he wanted, or the daughter I thought he wanted, because I thought that there was something wrong with me, that why he didn't want to stay. And so the older I got, the more that I realized that I just kept pushing that down and trying to show my dad something that he would find value in. And so, of course, the older I got, the madder I got that I did that when I was younger. And talking to my inner self, she just kind of showed me this vision of myself now holding on to my younger self when she was like, you know, crying because she missed my dad, or crying because she didn't know where my dad was, like, type thing, like holding her and cuddling her and trying to like make her feel okay. And my higher self just kind of told me that it wasn't entirely, you know, something in my younger self that wanted to impress my dad or wanted to find value. It was also the fact that I was comforting her, that my dad couldn't do it, so I was doing it spiritually. And so it's like, even though you're not in contact with your higher self, they're always looking out for you and they're comforting you and they're giving you what you need. You just have to like accept it.
I like this concept that you're the higher self
Yeah.
that your past version needed. It's actually
Yeah.
a meditation that I heard from a friend recently. Because when I meditate, especially recently after I've been attuned to Reiki 2, and, you know, I've just being introduced to this new, more intense level of energy, is I've been giving that energy out to people. I've been sending it to people that come to mind. I kind of, I try to feel what everyone in the environment is feeling in the area, and I give that energy to them. You know, if they're looking for breakthrough or to manifest something, I would send that manifestation energy to them. And so because of that, what has been happening is that, well, at least that friend of mine told me that what you can do because of this is you can go back to your past selves and your future selves throughout all the different timelines. If you guys believe in like multiverse theory or like infinite realities and things like that, you could technically go back to your younger self in a meditation and heal your younger self. You can be that love and unconditional love that your younger self needed, like you're talking about. So it would make you your higher self, which is an interesting idea. Is like maybe your higher self. Of course, there's an aspect of you that is the universe and is that like collective consciousness, that super consciousness. But there could be a version of you in the future right now that is meditating, that is looking back on us at this present moment, what we would call the present, giving us the energy and the power we need to move forward and connecting with us in meditation. So that's an interesting idea. If meditation is like the astral telephone, if it's the the spiritual connection between your higher selves. I think that's a really cool idea, because if you think about some forms of meditation, it gives you the ability to connect to God or connect to the universe. So why couldn't you connect to your future selves? It's not something I've experimented too much with, but I have astral projected through time, I believe. And I wanted to make a video about this. I don't know, I might have told you about this, but I feel like I projected into my future body in an experience. It was a really strange experience. This was back when we were at our old apartment, and so I just went through my typical astral projection and, you know, the technique, but I felt a presence in the room when I separated, and I'm not typically afraid, but I felt the presence like on me. It wasn't negative. It was just like the intensity of having something there. I could feel the energy of it. And I felt, it's hard to describe, but it's almost like if you're on a boat and the way you can feel the boat rocking because it's in the water. That's how it sort of felt. Like I was sort of like swaying and moving with the energy. And the next thing you know is like I'm feeling this crazy etheric pulling sensation of my astral body, and then I'm in a different place having a conversation with you from the future, talking about a kid, like our kid or something like that. And like I think to myself, like, wow, like this is pretty crazy. It's like, where am I at? Like I'm looking around the house, like, oh wow, you know, this and that, and then I'm back into my body. It was very short, but it was an interesting experience. So I think it's definitely possible. And I've thought for a while that perhaps time travel isn't it's not so much us moving ourselves from this reality into another one. I believe that's possible, and there is an aspect of that. But at the same time, I think there's a type of transportation or, time travel of your consciousness to a version of you that is in the future. It's like something that's unlocked through memory. Because when you have past life regressions, you're technically moving your consciousness into the life of your past self. So you're moving through time technically, because time doesn't exist outside of this 3D reality. Like outside of three-dimensional space, time is not. It doesn't mean anything. You could visit yourself 3-4 lives back and watch yourself there, or be in that body and experience life in that body. So why couldn't you do it with the future as well?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think you should probably take that, and another thing that my higher self told me is to never think of anything as coincidence. So if you see a sign, or if something were to happen to you that kind of points out something that you've been trying to avoid, especially, or even something that you weren't thinking about, I really think that everybody just needs to take a hold of that and just be like, okay, well, let's see what happens, So if that were the case, if you were kind of put into your higher self's body, I think that might be a sign that you should probably start trying to contact your higher self. Maybe they're trying to talk to you, and maybe they have been for a while.
Yeah, I just don't listen. I usually don't listen.
Gotta stop doing that.
That's probably why I have these experiences where things just pop up on me, and they're just like, "Hey," because I haven't been, I haven't been paying attention to the little stuff. But it seems cooler that way. Like I'd rather have an angel show up. And,
yeah, but you're gonna end up with like some crazy, creepy creature, and it's gonna scare the bejesus out of you. So I don't know. You should probably just like give him a chance.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's the way it goes.
Come back to the earth, babe.
That's the way it goes. Speaking of the earth, and the segue skills, you see that? Plant medicines. One thing I've been wanting to try, and I've talked to you about this before, has been ayahuasca. And it's just a process, man. It's a whole process, and my biggest thing is drugs aren't for everyone.
Yeah.
Like psychedelics especially.
Sadly true.
I heard Sadhguru say just earlier today, he was talking about like marijuana, whether it's good, and he's like, to me it's not a moral issue. Like I don't care. But it's like, does it enrich your life or take from your life? Because if you're doing something that's taking from your life, you should stop doing that. Because you need to live your best and fullest life. I mean, that's partially how you get out of the reincarnation cycle, is complete what you came here to complete in its fullness and ascend, so you don't have to keep going through these lives. But like, I don't think, and this is one of the reasons why I don't smoke as much as I used to, or hardly at all really, is because I feel like it's taking away from my life experience. Now, I've talked about having some wild experiences on it, of course, but if I have bad trips more often than I have good ones, it's just not a pleasant experience for me. And I've heard people say, well, it's not a bad trip, it's a challenging trip. And I get that. I get that you learn things about yourself, but there are also other ways of doing it. And it can lead to psychosis in some cases, to take a substance. Say, I've even heard horror stories, like people have taken X amount of grams of like dried shrooms, like heroic doses, and they've never come back. Like they're just gone. Mental institution, the whole 9 yards, like medication and everything. And I don't want to be that. It's not that serious to me. I want the experience, because anytime anyone says, "Oh, this is an amazing experience, you have to do this," like it's life changing. Of course, like I want to do it. Like I want to have this experience. I'd like to think I'm a psychonaut, but at the end of the day, the risk, I feel like, outweighs the reward. If smoking marijuana makes me have crazy experiences, sometimes and oftentimes uncomfortable experiences, than high doses of shrooms, like Terrence McKenna talks about the heroic dose being 5 dried grams and his 9-gram like trip experience. Like some of these huge doses, like I don't know if what I would experience, one, if I could even bring it back and solidify it into something explainable, or if I would recover from it. Because I feel like my mental space already is really fragile. Like I'm already half in and half out of reality. Third eye is already open. I'm seeing flashes and colors and beings walking by all the time. So like I feel like I don't so much need that push. And Joe Rogan talks about it on his podcast. Like you can take this trip and be on the top of the mountain right away. You can do DMT and get to the top of the mountain, or you can meditate and get there through like Kundalini yoga. You can get there, but it takes time and practice. And to me, that's the difference between learning how to drive a car and having someone give you a trip every now and again in a car. I can go whenever I want now, though it took me longer to learn than it would have if someone just, honked the horn and said, hey, come on outside of the house, let's go on your little trip, driving down the street. It's different when you learn it yourself. It's the whole, parable about teach a man to fish. You feed him for a lifetime. Like sometimes psychedelic trips feed you for the interim. It feeds you for the moment. And then you go away and it changes you, sure, but you go back to the normal mundane, and your only way to reach extended states of bliss and ecstasy are through another experience. So you chase the experience itself. And Ram Dass talks about this. He goes on to say, in his experience back in, I think it was 1969, when he takes shrooms, it's like it was a continual period of getting high and coming down, getting high and coming down, like where he would have this experience of God when he was high, and then he'd come back down to normal. He's like, I was tired of that. Like I wanted to get there and stay there. I wanted to have the experience, and so he went to India and tried to, figure that whole thing out. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But with all of that said, you've done LSD.
I love drugs. I think drugs are awesome.
The dichotomy.
I'm a stoner. I have done LSD. I've done shrooms. I've done ecstasy. I've done cocaine.
You've done cocaine?
Well, like you haven't.
Well, I have to try it. It was I'm not gonna try it. I can hear people in the comment section right now. I was like, oh, if someone gave you heroin, would you try that? Like, no, of course not.
No. A lot of the stuff that I've tried is just like for experience. And just to piggyback off of what you were saying, I think one of the worst things to anybody out there who's also like smokes marijuana, one of the worst things is to have somebody tell you that like to be happier you should stop smoking. And it's like, I mean, I was extremely depressed just like a few years ago, and weed is really what helped me get through that. I went to therapy. I was admitted at a point, like I was getting help, but weed was the one thing that was just like every time it was like I can just function when I'm with you, like a love, like a relationship with me and weed, and
the plant medicines,
Yeah, honestly, and it's like I was watching a TikTok that was like, it's not that I'm out of weed when I don't have any left. It's that I'm out of my medicine. Like my medicine is gone, and I'm going to be unmedicated until I get more. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard to tell people that like, if you were to stop smoking or doing the thing that's helping you cope with life at the moment, that you would be happier, because it's like, for a fact right now I could not stop doing it or whatever, because I'm having like suicidal thoughts all the time or something, and this is the only thing that makes them stop. It's like, don't feel pressure. If that is the case, please do not stop smoking just because you have people telling you that you'll be happier if you do. You have to get to a point where you want to be happy. When I was depressed, I didn't care. I was like, whatever, I don't want to be happy anymore. I just don't want to exist. Like, that's it. That's all there is for me. You can't tell me anything about how I have to manifest my own life, my own happiness. Like, it's over for me. I'm done. So when you're in that headspace, of course, like you cannot stop doing the thing that's keeping you alive technically, you know, or keeping you sane. So eventually though, the rain always stops. Like there is going to come a point when you don't feel so sad anymore, and you don't feel like it's so hard to live without the substance. And then at that point, maybe take a tea break, or you know, just see what life is like now that you've got this like newfound appreciation for life, where you see that all your hardships are kind of starting to backpedal, or they're leaving you, you know. But yeah, I've done LSD. I smoke every day, so that's why, you know, you and I are twin flames, babe. You don't have to do anything, I'll do it all.
Right.
So my LSD trip was very interesting. You were my trip sitter. So I think it would be fun to also hear your experience of how, you know, what it was like being a trip sitter for
No,
somebody.
I was stressed, man. I was stressed the whole time. Because it was my first time trip sitting someone in like a legit, this is going to be a 12-hour ride sort of thing. Like,
And it was.
And I was like sitting there, you know, I was laying next to you, and you're like looking at walls, and you're like, oh my God, I see this. I'm like, oh, Jesus. What do I do? The bathtub, cold water? What did Kendrick say? Like, how do I fix this?
I took it at 10:30 p.m., which I probably shouldn't have done, but I bought it when I was at work, and I was so excited. There was just this guy who came into work who sold them. I bought it, and then he dropped it off to me, and I was so excited. I got home, got through the door, slipped it under my tongue, and I was going, you know. But of course, it was like, it was like I had anxiety when I was getting through it. Like in the beginning, when it was starting to go up, it was like that roller coaster ride, you know, right before the drop. The worst part is having that rickety, like, you know, bump, 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 bump going up, because it seems like it's never going to stop. And then they fake you out right when you're about to go down that drop. So that's kind of how it felt in the beginning. But eventually, it was like the drop was kind of just like a whoop little thing, and then we were like off doing, you know, loop-de-loops and, you know, seeing a whole bunch of stuff. So it was fun. I was having a good time. I even documented my trip.
Oh.
So I have like notes that I took, because I really did. I just wanted to be able to remember it, go back to the experience, and read exactly what was on my mind. So I've got like 4 pages here of just stuff that I wrote when I was tripping.
Well, we're here for it. Let's
dive in, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think
We're
that I'll
taking off.
I don't think that I'll read everything. Like, I'm not going to read you word for word, because some of it's kind of long.
Let's just summarize.
I'll paraphrase. Yeah, I'll
paraphrase. Yeah. Paraphrase. Let's pick up some fries.
I love fries. Okay, so I waited 30 minutes for it to finally start to pick up. I didn't eat anything before, nor did I smoke, because that's when I started to feel like anxious. It was when I stuck it under my tongue, and then I was kind of sitting there, and I was waiting for stuff to happen, and that's when the anxiety kind of started to kick in. And so I was like, maybe if I'd ate or if I'd smoked, I would have had an easier ride up.
Well, I hear different conflicting stories about that. I hear that if you smoke on the way up and near the drop, that it makes the trip more intense and could make it frightening. And at the same time, eating would lessen the effects, because just like when you smoke and then you eat, like you come down faster. You see, I know the facts about the substances, but my body is just like, not yet. I mean, I'll do them at a certain point, but I would do them very ritualistically. I wouldn't do them in passing, or, you know, just it's something I'd have to schedule and, you know, meditate up until to get ready for it. But tell the experience as it was happening for you, and I guess use the journal and what you wrote in the journal as like supplementary, because I want to hear it from like your gonzo journalistic perspective. Like I want your personal unfolding of events. Okay.
Well, all right. So then that means that I'd have to go back and like recollect it all instead of just reading it.
Oh, well, if you can't recollect it all, just go ahead and read it then.
I mean, I don't remember every small detail, so that's why I like wrote it down. But like at that point when I was starting to feel anxious, I felt like I was going to puke. So I think that's when we turned
Oh.
on that satisfying compilation of people like cutting soap and like playing with the slime and stuff. I don't know what it is about that stuff, but it is so
We got the LSD hacks, guys.
yes.
Whenever you're tripping, watch the satisfying videos.
Yes.
Thank
Oh my
us
God.
later.
If you guys like having people cut soap, I don't know what it is about that, but those little like diamonds coming off of it, I really wish that I could cut soap. Okay, but
Shameless.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I'm a big fan of ASMR too. I don't know if I probably have never said it before, but like there are nights when I just pull up, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Ephemeral Rift. That's my guy. If you have, leave a comment in the comment section. You know, the Rifters, yeah. But yeah, ASMR is like, I don't know, it's just relaxing, very relaxing.
Yeah,
It's good content.
for sure. So after that, it seems that I started to get cold. I guess the anxiety, I think, was starting to make me shake, and maybe I felt like cold or whatever. So I think we probably turned on the heat, and then I noted that my jaw felt weird, and then I said that I wasn't really having a good experience so far. I was trying to ignore it. My head felt uncomfortable, and I didn't want Calvin to freak out. So I was like trying to hold it together, and then I started writing in all caps, and I was like, I don't know what's going on with me. My handwriting is irritating me. I feel really tense. I feel like dumb tense. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm meshing with this shit. Can I curse on here?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, okay.
Nothing but gangsters listen to this anyway, so.
Hey. And then I started to see colors. So
like, see colors like how? Like washing over your vision?
No, it was so like looking at a white wall. So all of our walls in our bedroom are white. Just kind of looking at the wall, it was like I saw a pattern of like almost like kaleidoscope pattern of colors just kind of go around the wall in my vision. It wasn't really in my peripheral. It was really just like right where I was staring. And it was awesome. Like some of it had like a red base, some of it had a green base. Like it was pretty cool.
Did it look holographic, or did it look like it was actually there on the wall? Like, you know how when you sneeze really hard and you see like colorful dots, did it look like that?
It wasn't like as if you would imagine somebody painting something on a wall like that obvious. It was kind of like I don't know, it kind of had like a see-through. It was slightly transparent, so you could kind of tell that it was like coming from your mind, you know?
It was like holographic, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Like transparency. Okay.
So then at this point, once I started to see the colors, I had these like terrible laughing fit. Like I just started cracking up. I was crying. I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I don't understand why I can't stop laughing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It made me worried. I was like, oh no.
I was laughing at everything. And then I think that's probably about the time that we turned on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, yes. Fear and Loathing.
Yeah. I have to watch that when you're
I may have to go on a slight tangent. Fear and Loathing. It's one of my favorite movies. Fear and Loathing.
It is a good movie.
When it comes to that movie, whenever I drink heavily, happens sometimes, not all the time. Much more frequently now because all the holidays are at one time. It's like they're trying to kill you. But whenever I did any sort of substance, I would watch that movie because I feel like in that movie embodies like the desire to go on the trip. Like Hunter S. Thompson, he was the guy who came up with the quote, "Buy the ticket, take the ride." Like, I'm just doing it because why not? Like, that's how he connected to God. And like he created gonzo journalism, like this experiential stream of consciousness writing, and I love it. So if you've never seen the movie, watch it.
Justice for Johnny Depp. Nobody should have to be hit or hurt by their spouse. Nobody. Justice for Johnny Depp.
That's an interesting thing too. Like, I always feel like this stuff with these celebrities is,
it could be just like,
I feel like
totally
it's staged. Yeah. Like, especially with like some of the artists and stuff, like music artists.
I don't know. Johnny's so like, how can you not love Johnny Depp? You know, he seems so genuine. He seems just like, you know, I'm here to do it, like do the job, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mosey on my way and live the rest of my life. Like he doesn't seem like he's like problematic or in anybody's business. And you know, I find it very interesting that like maybe a B-list or C-list actress would think that like she could act this way toward him. I mean, not saying that like anybody deserves it. Obviously, I just said that nobody deserves to get hurt, but just the fact of like, you're messing with somebody that like a lot of people like. And so, of course, like we're all going to be on his side, you know, like poor Johnny Depp. I can't believe he doesn't seem like the type that would do something to like instigate something like that. But then again, I don't know him.
But so after that incident, I remember we were watching videos about him, and there are going to be a lot of tangents here, guys. So
yeah, so
stay tuned.
We're working with an air sign here.
Everyone like... clicks off, But yeah, that's something we got to talk about is astrology, because you're really big into astrology. But I've looked in after this incident, and we heard about it. We looked up some of his interviews on I think it was like Letterman or something like that. I forget. Some of his like talk show interviews,
something like that.
He's got a very interesting philosophy about films, and
he does.
I mean, he's funny, of course, and I feel like he's being facetious to a degree, but at the same time, I feel like he actually thinks that way. The show host was asking like, so after your films are done, do you watch them? And he was like, no. Like, so you haven't seen this film that just came out? And he was like, no, why would I? It's like, I feel like once my job is done, like behind the scenes, that's it. It's none of my business. Like, what? What are you talking about?
See?
But like, and it's such a Buddhist, Hindu, it's such a spiritual way to go about things, because like the outcome is out of your hands. Like it's not your concern. It's like parenting. Like I talked about that before on the channel. Like everyone is like, oh, I have to do this. I have to make sure my kid is this and this and that. Like your job as a parent is to take care of the kid, to give it all the opportunities, keep it safe, feed it, shelter, all that stuff.
Right.
How the kid turns out is up to like the kid and God. Like, you can give it all the love, you can teach it all the right things, but don't stress yourself out about who they'll become. Like your goal is to be a parent, not to be the decider of destiny for them, So I think it's really interesting that Johnny Depp has those sort of views, and like the iconic roles this man has been in. Edward Scissorfingers, my boy. My boy with the fingers.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, Johnny Depp doesn't seem like a problematic person. Like he seems like somebody who really just goes to work, does his job, and goes home. Like he's not looking for attention. I think Johnny Depp could fart and people would talk about it, like what on earth, what would he gain from having this woman beat him up? Like that doesn't make sense, So I think he's definitely not lying. He's definitely not lying.
What does he have to gain in general? Like this,
he's everything.
One of the richest actors out there, well known, renowned. Right. Like, what does he have to gain from a scandal, really? Like, more clout? Like, he's already got it all. Like, you've got all the clout, sir. Relax. Like, you don't need any more.
Did he just want to get Amber Heard out of the new Batman movie or something?
Oh, so she got, like, kicked out of the Batman movie for that?
That's what I was hearing, was that she was supposed to be the new Poison Ivy. And I think the Robert Pattinson movie, like his new Batman, I don't know if, Poison Ivy was even supposed to appear in that movie. But I saw somewhere that people were starting like a petition or something online to get her removed, that they didn't want her as Poison Ivy. They wanted somebody else. I can't remember who. But they were like, yeah, she doesn't deserve it. Like, if, we have this whole scandal, like, we don't want to even see it.
Okay, I have a few different feelings about that. One, I want to talk about that Batman movie. Cancel culture is the other thing. Like, I get it. It makes sense when you're on a platform, you're on a pedestal, and people are seeing you. I feel like it's an act of people's own self-righteousness to try to tear someone down for who they were in the past. ignoring their journey. Like Shane Dawson is an example of this. Jenna Marbles, and how she just completely ended her channel over tweets that people brought up from years and years and years ago. It's like, I'm a totally different person now. Like, I'm totally different. It's almost like 5-6 years past since these things. And Shane Dawson, this was back when YouTube was in its infancy. He was making these videos, and then we were laughing about them then. It wasn't like he was committing social injustice and, you know, like he was coming against people. No.
Right. That's what everybody wanted to see. You know, that was the TV show that your parents wouldn't let you watch, was Comedy Central. And I mean, what was on Comedy Central? Dave Chappelle and South Park and, you know, everything else. It's like, of course, like that was the humor that we grow up with, not justifying it, not saying that anything was okay with it, but to take somebody's, like you were saying, take somebody's progress away. Like, they are starting to adapt. They're starting to learn from their mistakes. They're starting to see that what they were doing was wrong. And now everybody gets to a point where they're like, I looked back and I see all these tweets, or I look back and I see these videos, and you were acting this way like 5-6 years ago. What is that all about? You must not be a very good person, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. And not only that, but we could go on and on and on about Jenna. We could go on about Jenna. I'm so upset with her. I'm so upset with her. I'm not even going to get into it, but she disappointed me, guys. She really, really let me down.
It's just for canceling the channel. I mean, I could see why she did it. Maybe she was ready to be done with the channel.
She was totally ready to be done. Yeah. Like, I know I said I wouldn't go into it, but I guess I'm going to. I don't know if anybody's been watching Jenna's content for the last, like, almost a few years, you know, or I would at least say maybe 2019, 2020. This woman made a video about her napping. Like, the lack of effort that went into her videos toward the end, it was so apparent. And it's like, I feel like people started to call her out about, you know, the videos that she made when we were kids. She got butthurt about it. I think she really just got upset. And of course she's going to make it seem like she got offended that people were saying that. But I think that she got upset that people were saying one day that she was unproblematic, and this is what happens when you act this way, you know, like white people who aren't problematic get to age well, and, you know, this, that, and the other. So, you know, everybody was like really like with her, and then all of a sudden the next night it was like, oh, Jenna did blackface and blah, 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 so we don't like her anymore.
Yeah,
I think she got mad, and I think she got petty, and she was like, I'm just going to use this reason to step back from YouTube, reevaluate things, which you know what, I'm not saying that she didn't have the right to do that. If you don't want to do YouTube anymore, that's totally fine. But I feel like, as somebody who's been watching you for such a long time, somebody who was, like I am, such a big fan of Jenna, I feel like I deserved a better explanation. You know, I deserved her coming out and saying, like, look, I'm just kind of getting bored with this. I don't really have any more video ideas, and I'm just not really into it anymore, so I would rather just stop. That, I would have so much more respect for her, and we would have left off on good terms. But the fact that it came from Black Lives Matter and, you know, everything that happened this past summer, it was like, you can't use that as a reason to end your channel. Like, that wasn't the point, you know? So I don't know.
It's the cancel culture. It's just, I understand where people come from, but it's toxic. Like, it's really toxic. I feel like it encroaches on freedom of speech. Like, okay, you were saying stupid shit when you were younger, but everybody's stupid. Like, I have a younger version of me that said stupid stuff that if it was available to look up on Twitter or something, people would be like, "Whoa, he was an idiot." Like, yeah, like everyone goes through these stages of maturity, and like the process of maturation, especially on the internet, is it's grotesque. Like, it's like if all your diaries became public. It's like, and then you being kicked off of movies and TV shows and shit like that, like the Roseanne thing. I understand that, like, and that's terrible, but at the same time, like, you can't force someone not to be racist, because that doesn't fix the problem. That's you don't force someone, you don't beat someone into not being racist, because like you only increase their reason for being racist. Like, you have to approach it a different way, and I don't think the way that cancel culture is going about things is the right way of doing it.
Yeah,
you know,
it doesn't fix anything. Like, it's almost like you're telling somebody that even though you're better now, like I still see you as that person, and it doesn't matter what progress you've made. It doesn't matter that you're a more tolerant person now. You did that stuff when you were younger, and I can't forgive it. It's like we can't approach things that way, because then how are we going to forgive? I mean, when it's like something like that where it wasn't even something that was done like uh, personally to you, like this wasn't somebody came against you like personally, and you can't forgive somebody for something they've done in their past. I mean, how will you ever forgive somebody for something that they've done to you personally, like immediately, you know? So I feel like that's something that we do need to grow out of, is like trying to take away people's stuff because of how they act or whatever, because it's like you can easily just stop watching them, like don't contribute to what they're doing, you know. um but we definitely got off topic.
Yeah, super off topic, but I feel that though, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. So
Yeah.
Continue where you were at. Maybe we'll get through several more minutes of the story before we break off into Wonderland of tangents.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yet again.
So through the laughing fits, we were watching Fear and Loathing, and I start writing stuff down saying that I'm traveling through the universe as I'm writing this. I said I was so proud of me, and then I said I was stupid, and I I was like, I feel like my head is gonna explode. How could you eat all those? You're horrible. How I wanted some more. You ate the whole bag. I can't hear you.
It was for me. It was my bag.
No, it wasn't. We got it together.
Tangents.
It was a snack.
Never mind that. Continue the story. For those of you listening to the audio, I'm eating beef jerky. That's what happened.
Yeah. We went to the store and we bought it together, and I figured it was for us, but I only got a few pieces out of it. I guess I gotta be quicker than that. So, yeah, I feel like my head is gonna explode at this point. My feet were sweating. I was shivering. And then I was saying that I couldn't get my mind to cooperate with me. I couldn't focus on anything. And then I was getting so upset at my handwriting. I do not have good handwriting. My mom has always told me I write like a boy. So I'm like trying to write this and I'm trying to be good, but I'm shivering at the same time while also seeing like patterns on the page because the page is white. And I'm like trying to write around everything. And I'm like, why is my handwriting so bad? And then I even said something like, I'm not the same person now that I've done this, and I could see my veins. And I'm like, this isn't funny, but I have to stop laughing. And then I wrote in all caps, real big. I was like, my handwriting is so bad. Ah. And then I said, H's don't even feel like H's anymore. And then I didn't know what was happening.
What does that even mean?
I'm like writing down H's, and I'm like, they don't even feel right anymore. Because I was saying so I put one A and like 7 H's. And I was like, these H's don't feel right anymore.
This doesn't. I feel like you're writing a different language.
Yeah, right. And then anybody who's tried cocaine, I know that it's an addictive drug. But after I tried it, it was something that I felt I didn't like. That drip was just not for me. And not only that, but it only lasted for like a few minutes. So I was like, yeah, this just isn't the drug for me. Yeah. So I went on to say that I feel like this is what cocaine should feel like. Yeah. Which is like, could you imagine?
God.
Snorting a psychedelic?
You probably can. I'm pretty sure you can.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Oh, and then I had a prophecy. I said my head was going to hurt really bad when I get out of this. And I don't think it did. Okay. So that's good. I wasn't right. And then I guess you told me I was closed-minded. And I said, I think it's really funny, even though no one else is laughing. Oh, and then I think there was a point when you were laying next to me and I was staring at your face. And I was like, your face is so beautiful. And like the cheek, like, you know, where you put highlight on your cheeks, his high points were like golden. Like they looked like gold. It was so cool. So I wrote that down. And then I couldn't breathe.
I've noticed that.
And then I did this, like scribbled line. And in the beginning, I said, here's where I had it together. And then once I got to the end, I said, this is where it all fell apart.
What does that even mean? Such profundity, I can't follow it.
And then I said, Hunter S. Thompson is ugly.
Oh. He's an alright looking dude. Maybe not Johnny Depp.
Right. I don't
Maybe
know why I
not
would say that.
like
I think
Brad Pitt.
I think it was because of how Johnny Depp was dressed in that movie. So I was just like, this is not the fit for me, man. And then I think, you do the lines better than me, but there was a part in there where he was like, God? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
I love that scene. That scene. It's where they're in the desert. And he's with like his is his lawyer or something like that.
I think it was his lawyer.
Yeah, and he's in the desert. Oh no, that's when he's like handing him the cocaine and he's trying to like put like, so they're in this convertible and they're driving fast down this this highway in the middle of the desert. I think they're going to Vegas. And he's like trying to sprinkle cocaine on his hand so that he can bump it. And as he's doing it, like the cap opens and it all just blows past him. And he's like, you see what God did to us, man? Was one of my favorite parts.
I had to write it out. So I wrote out God, like G-O-D, and then I wrote out in all caps G-A-W-W-W-D because that's how he said it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, people out west don't talk like people from out east. And then I said, I feel like how Johnny Depp acts.
I feel like how Johnny Depp acts.
Go ahead and decipher that, because I have no idea. And then I said that I occasionally see a bug out of the corner of my eye, and I wish I had a beard and a penis, but I already knew that. So,
right.
Yeah, that was the end.
Interesting worldview.
It was a 12-hour long trip. I think it lasted from 10:30 at night, or I guess that's when I popped it, and then I didn't start feeling different until about 8:30, 9 a.m. the next morning. So at that point, once I started to come down, I think you'd already gone to sleep. Yeah, I think you'd already gone to sleep.
Because you seemed fine. Like, I mean, I'm not a bad trip sitter. Don't nobody comment that. I'm not a bad trip sitter. It's just we were both laying in bed and I was tired, and you were like, because LSD, it comes in waves, like you were saying. Like, you would feel fine for a little bit and then it would hit you again, and you were in bed relaxed, so you seemed fine, and you could have woken me up if something was. Like you started tripping real bad or started having a bad trip or something.
Not to make these notes like indicate that I was like having a bad time. I know it said in the beginning that I wasn't really meshing with it, but I think that was just the anxiety. Once I got to the laughing part, that's when it all kind of just felt fine. So I'm not somebody who has ever really had like a bad trip. I've done a bunch of different drugs, and I feel like I can hold myself rather well on all of them. So especially once I was starting to come down, you really didn't need to be awake anymore. So as I finally felt like I didn't have any more in my system, I laid there and I was sweating. Like, my shirt was soaked. I could tell I was stinky. Like, it was just nasty. Like, I needed to shower. And I felt like a werewolf who had changed the night before and had woke up in the forest as a human. And I was like if you could put up, or even like think of Klaus when he finally got to change into a hybrid from Vampire Diaries, if anybody watches it, how he woke up and he was like looking around like, oh wow, it's a whole new world, you know. That's what it felt like. So it was a great experience. I definitely want to do it again. I've actually been looking, so yeah.
Sure. That's a very interesting experience. I have not experimented with LSD, so
no, I don't think I'd let you.
Yeah, I don't. I haven't messed with it. But DMT, I've done once. In part, it wasn't enough for me to tell a story about it. And it wasn't enough for me to make a video about it. You know, and the whole experience was.
That's because he did it without me.
It was kind of lackluster. I just, I was going for the third hit, and everyone knows like you have to take that third hit. And it's like Terrence McKenna made that very popular. It's like, take the third hit, man. Come on, And so I took the third hit, and I feel like I got to the waiting room area. It's like the walls started to shake, and things started to like defocus and start to spread apart. Like I was about to go somewhere, then I just didn't go anywhere. So I didn't take enough for a breakthrough, which is why I haven't made a video about it yet. In the future, when we do some, then I'll make sure to take like a breakthrough amount, so that one, I can make a video about it, but more importantly, so that I can have the experience and see what it's all about. Though I feel like I know what the experience is like, because astral projection is very, I feel like it's akin to a lot of psychedelic experiences. So just at least from the ones that I've had, it's very similar. It kind of.
I haven't ever had an astral projection experience. Are you talking about DMT?
Right? Yeah, it's like the comparison. Yeah, it's like it feels very similar to me, from what I was feeling, like the initial projection symptom, like how it feels.
Well, maybe it'd be okay for you then, if you're already used to it.
And it only lasts like 15 minutes. I know it's like an N-dimethyltryptamine, and I've researched the MAO inhibitor business, and because I was really excited about it. I was going into it, and I was like, okay, like I want to have this good experience. I just didn't take enough. And because it's only 15 minutes, I feel like however bad it is, I can handle 15 minutes. Like if it does wind up being bad, like I can handle 15 minutes. As opposed to hours and hours and hours of a bad trip. He's like, Jesus.
Yeah, LSD's no joke.
It's like, this is a mess. Why on earth did I do this? Why did I do this again? I don't want to get to a place where I'm thinking that. It's like, why did I do this?
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's definitely something, when you have the like that want or desire on your heart, it's something you got to go after. Drugs are just, they're illegal for more than just because they want to keep you safe type thing. I'm sure we all understand that, like, they're trying to keep us from understanding a certain thing that drugs could potentially show us, or certain ones.
I believe that for sure. Like it's not a banning of substances, it's a banning of states of consciousness. And expansion and the freedom that some of those substances allow you. I feel like there's a lot of control when it comes to governmental structures on our perception of reality as a whole. Because if they can prevent us from like extreme states of consciousness and altered states and out-of-body experiences, then they keep us brainwashed. Like the only thing that's real is what we can perceive with our five senses. Then we look at life differently. Then we get that fear of death, and that permanence, of this three-dimensional reality being all that there is. And we do have to wake up from the matrix, and I feel like for a lot of people, psychedelics do that. Psychedelics give them that ability to wake up from the matrix and, kind of peer beyond the veil and see what it's all about for a little while, and then come back and relay their experience.
Or at least just to see that there's something different, Like, my parents have all tried psychedelics, and they're not awakened yet. I'm hoping that at some point we can get them to that point. But I think even the older generation too just kind of used psychedelics, and they got to a point where they started this movement that I think our generation has kind of continued. But they got to a point with the drugs where it was more about the experience, like you were saying. It was about the drug, it was about the experience rather than learning from it at that point. So another segue that we could do now is this spiritual awakening that's happening on TikTok.
Oh, right.
A lot of the videos that I watch. Are you okay?
I hit my leg. Go ahead.
So when I'm scrolling on my For You page, a lot of the stuff that I find is like spiritual stuff. And it warms my heart so much to see people talk about how they're starting to heal from the hurts that their parents caused, and they're starting to play more with like herbs and whatnot, so that they can finally start to heal things and not have to rely so much on prescription drugs or Western medicine. And they're starting to manifest things. They're seeing things in their lives that have never happened before, were even possible. They're starting to see that they're kind of starting to come about, and it's given me so much life. Like I love seeing it. I love seeing people wake up. I love seeing people be happier. You know, our generation deserves to be happy. Gen Z deserves to be happy. Like, we got left all this junk, and now we're having to, you know, swim through it and fish through everything to try to see, you know, what's actually real, because it's a sea of bullshit. And on top of having to also navigate being an adult, you know, how do I take care of myself? How do I keep myself secure? You know, stuff like that. But on top of, how do I also make sure that I'm not getting fucked over by everybody? You know, like it. I don't know. I love to see it. I feel like Gen Z and millennials, is like younger millennials, like we're starting to snap out of it. We are the movement. Something that I've heard a lot in the Christian church before we left was talk of a revival, and I think this is the revival. It's not going to be seen the way that everybody has been seeing it before. It's not going to be traditional. It's going to be like a spiritual revival, and we're all going to come back to understanding that we are a part of everything, and that when we, you know, relinquish this like hold that we have on the lives that we're living right now, and we try to live more as like a spiritual being who's a part of like an entire universe of a community, then that's when we'll see the peace that we need and the progress that we've been searching for. And I think Gen Z and millennials are going to get there a lot faster than anybody else has.
Yeah, I totally feel that. And I do get a lot out of that. Like, there's definitely a movement happening. There's definitely something changing. I've seen on a couple different spiritual YouTube channels lately. It's like, you know, December 21st, 2020 is supposed to be a date of awakening, and just like 2012. And I can attest to 2012 being a year of awakening for me, because it was a year of first for me, like my first projection experience, and, you know, feeling energy for the first time. And it was a really important year for me. And so I'm curious to see what the end of this year brings and the start of the next one, you know, kind of turns out to be like. But
for sure.
That's going to do it for our time for this one. So before we go, why don't you tell the good people of the world where they can find you and what you're doing or working on that you can invite them into?
Well, I have a TikTok. If you guys want to go follow my TikTok, I post random stuff. I'm going to start posting product reviews. I like makeup, I like skincare, so I'm going to be doing stuff like that. If I had any requests, I could start doing stuff for spiritual stuff. I'm really open to anything. My TikTok is just a free place where like I try to express myself. So my handle is @_wasting my life. So I believe, you know, we'll put that in the description below. I really just wanted to say, you know, as somebody looking in from the outside who is as close to this project as, you know, you are, I am so incredibly like overwhelmed at the support that you know, you've shown, Cal, and like that we've been getting for this channel, we've been getting for the podcast. You guys have really blessed us in a way that you cannot understand.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for being on the channel, on the podcast, and also being the co-host, so you'll be here more frequently. And thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel. Again, we just hit 500 subscribers, so thank you. I'd consider this like a 500 subscriber special with my wife on it. And also, I just appreciate the support. I like that you guys comment everywhere. I read them. So this is going to be how things move forward on the channel from now on. I'm going to make these podcasts and supplemental videos as well. And again, this is totally Patreon supported. So if you guys enjoy my work, you like what I do, and you want to support that, consider becoming a Patreon. You can click the link in the description below, and it'll take you to my Patreon page. And if you would like any one-on-one coaching from me, I do coaching to help awaken your psychic abilities. I do Reiki healing sessions and aura cleansing. So you can go to my website, melkez.com, and find that out there. And if you guys have someone that you want me to have on the podcast, that's like reasonable. I mean, I'd like to have Johnny Depp on the podcast, but I don't know if he's going to be available for it. But again, thank you guys so much. And as always, guys, never stop adventuring.